this is my new YouTube video lah. This is the last part of today's asynchronous lecture. Tadi maknanya saya buat for this asynchronous lecture, the beginning part and the ending part of today's asynchronous lecture. In between tu, maksudnya you should recap balik, tengok balik YouTube yang saya share link dia dekat eLearn. Alright, so we come to the last slide for chapter 2 part 1 ni. And if you have completed recap balik what we have discussed masa Engineering Maths 1, dalam saya punya video tu, we have discussed example A, example B, example D. Okay, kita dah discuss all this. Just that in this Engineering Maths 2, saya ada one more question here, which is x square y prime plus xy equals to 1 for x more than 0 and it satisfy y1 sama dengan 2. Okay, so tak sedap lah kalau saya tak ada satu new video. So for this one, question C here, I'm going to discuss with you. Kok lah, macam ambil orang kata, okay, ambil apa tak tahu nak cakap apa, ambil apa. Okay, maknanya ambil berkat, berkat ke. Okay, I mean, buat jugalah satu example because this is in my Engineering Maths 1, I tak letak this example. So I'm going to discuss with you now on this solution for 4C here. Okay, so I'm going to start with C, the first and last example that yang saya baru discuss for this asynchronous lecture. Okay, so the question is x square y prime plus xy equals to 1. And the punya initial condition is y1 equals to 2. Okay. So macam mana? By right, you all pun boleh solve ni. Senang je kan? Okay, so this one we are unable to separate. So we can't use the separable method. So kita akan guna integrating factor. So integrating factor tu, the first step is we have to generalize the equation. Okay, kalau you dah tengok example dah tengok balik YouTube tu, maknanya sekelip mata je you boleh solve yang ni. We are going to divide the whole equation with x square kan, sebabnya this x square is darab dengan y prime. We have to make sure y prime ni kat depan dia satu je, 1 times with y prime. So we divide the whole equation with x square. So we have x over x square and equals to 1 over x square. So this will give us y prime plus with 1 over x equals to 1 over x square. Okay, dah tertinggal y kat sini, so y here. Alright, so dari sini we identify by comparing. We have the general equation for linear equation y prime plus pxy equals to qx. So here we know that our px is equals to 1 over x. Okay, and dari sini kita carilah the integrating factor, which is e to the power of integration of px, which is 1 over x dx. So this will give e to the power of ln x. Okay, e to the power of ln x, kita dah discuss panjang lebar dalam Engineering Maths 1, will give us equals to x. It simplifies to x. Dan daripada sini, this x, this integrating factor, kita akan darab ke dalam this equation. So we are to have xy prime plus with x darab dengan 1 over x, y equals to x over x square, because we have multiplied everything with x. So what we have over here is xy prime plus y equals to 1 over x, and in here again this thing is actually equals to xy prime. Ni pun saya dah discuss kenapa daripada sini dia jadi xy prime. It's meaning that this is actually the dot product. Okay, the dot product or the derivative, the dot product of the, not the dot product, kita panggil apa? product rule, okay, using the product rule of the derivative, okay. Xy prime ni maknanya xy prime ni sebenarnya dia adalah d dx of xy. So ni sebenarnya kita ambil x, kita differentiate y, so jadi y prime, differentiate x dapat 1 dan darab dengan y. So that's why dia adalah sama dengan xy everything prime 1 over x. Kalau you macam tak clear apa saya cakap ni, tak faham juga, tu maksudnya you tak tengok previous video yang saya dah share dalam e-learn tu, the one that episode dalam Engineering Maths 1 sebelum ni. Okay, so dari sini we have xy equals to the integration, because want to get rid of the derivative here, then we introduce an integration on the right hand side, 1 over x. Of course, this is x, so you're gonna be with respect to dx. So integrate 1 over x, we get ln x. Dan plus with c, jangan lupa. So we have here xy equals to ln x plus c. And remember, the question here gave an initial, the boundary condition. The boundary condition is given. You may now check straight away for the boundary condition where x ni maksudnya x sama dengan 1, y sama dengan 2 kan. So 1 darab dengan 2 equals to ln 1 tambah c. So in here it give us c sama dengan 2. Jadinya jawapan akhir kita y, saya bahagi ni, x ni saya bawa ke belah kanan. So we're going to have ln x tambah c per x, where our c here is equals to 2. So we have ln x tambah 2 per x. So this is the final answer untuk jawapan example 4C. Okay, based on my experience, marking your last semester punya test and assignment and quiz for this chapter kan, tak tahulah, saya tak tahu you are guna magic ke apa. Even though the question ni kita dah nampak soalan ni is unable to be separated, tapi not all of you macam majority of you are not using the method that I've taught you in class. Tahulah you dapat dari mana magic tu all the way long, but at the end you find the answer is correct. Kat situlah mulalah saya berprasangka, okay, you are using something to get your answer without really understand what's going on in between the steps too. So make sure from for this course, all the question given, you show all the necessary steps yang saya ajar dalam kelas. Bukan kata you buat atau tahu macam mana dapat tuk jawapan akhir betul. Okay, so make sure you really understand the step and you really use the technique that we have discussed in class. Bukan out of nowhere keluar jawapan. I don't want to say that again anymore. Okay, so that's the end for this chapter 2 part 1 we have discussed. And to make sure, sekali ni classwork submission akan jadi sangat senang because the solution semua sebenarnya saya nak recompile balik je. Okay, saya nak you all resubmit lah. Maksudnya this example saya dah discuss dulu dalam lecture. So meaning kalau you tengok video, you memang nampak solution macam mana saya solve. Maybe one of the question ni saya lupa yang mana, saya make it as a classwork submission. So for today classwork submission, I want you to solve example 2 A and B. Jawapan dah ada sebenarnya. Kalau you tengok balik video yang saya dah share dengan you sebelum ni. And then hantar juga example 4 untuk soalan A, B and C. Ni semua saya dah check dah. Ada jawapan dia dalam saya punya classwork submission. Dalam my video last year. Bukan last year. Tahun ni juga kan, awal early of the year. Okay, daripada YouTube saya tu ada ni A, B and C and D ni. Maknanya you buat balik based on my video, tengok my video, buat balik and submit to me to show that you have redo all the examples for this chapter 2 part 1. Okay class, I think that's all for today's asynchronous lecture, where as I said at the at the beginning of today's at the beginning of the video tadi, part 1, this is our last asynchronous lecture. Starting next week, kita akan start with face to face or hybrid class. Okay, so see you next week at our physical class. Bye bye. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.